Hello everybody and welcome to the second round of the Novice Racer GT3 Championship here from Monza. As throughout April and June we take on 7 rounds for 7 Sundays in a row to see our 2 GT3 champions in Group 1 and Group 2 of this series. Last time out we were at the Red Bull Ring in sunny conditions, and we are in sunny conditions again, this time at Monza for another round of this championship. It's myself, Ian Leary, and James Parfitt this time round, bringing you the action from Monza. And I always think this is a good GT3 circuit. In fact, it's a good circuit, full stop, really, for 2 different races. A first 20-minute race to begin with, and then a reverse grid 20-minute race to end off with later on this afternoon. It's going to be a good way to get off to the second part of our championship with 2 very straight-line speed heavy circuits in a row to start off with.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting indeed here as well. We're just into qualifying at the moment. The interesting thing for me, turn 1. It's always turn 1 at Monza. We always sit here and say turn 1, turn 1, turn 1. Why? Because they're coming at such a high speed to a sudden stop. And that doesn't always go well.
It's always a big problem. Although I've got to say, I've done some officials at Monza this week, and it was quite well behaved, if you can believe it.
No.
So, oh right, okay. Well, it was. So we'll see if it is here as well. But anyway, let's have a look at the class points so far. Starting with Group 1. Jack Ashton won both races last week, and so he's on 30 ahead of Tommy Patero on the podium twice in last week's races. Matt Warner wasn't quite, but third place in the championship to start off with. Stefan Klarman and Jan Jancic are tied for 4th place ahead of Andrew Pratt, Alistair Clark and Ian Knox to round out the 8 drivers who scored points in the race on Sunday last week. Jay Verner is at the top of the Class 2 standings with Nicholas Green. They both scored 2 podiums, a first and a third, in the last week's racing, and so that's why they're in the lead. It's a 3-way tie for third, but rather bizarrely, after just 1 round. Parker Enquist, Luke Edwards and George Metakos. Then it's Tim Wybrow, who's in 6th place at Eric Orchin, and Steve Whitman, who rounds out the 8 drivers who scored points during that first round of the season in the second group. So pretty split across the board very early on in our championship, of course, as well. But I think the notable thing about this series is, especially when you've got numbers like we had last week at about 20, you've got only 8 drivers from each class scoring points. And, you know, I quite like this point system, to be honest with you. I think to us, most of the series I do, far too many people score points, because you can finish last and have a terrible day and still score many points in some series. But around here, you've absolutely got to earn them, especially if you're in Class 2 today, for example. There's going to be plenty of drivers who don't score any points tonight.
I think that's the thing. It's not often that many leagues do point system down to a certain place, right? A lot of leagues we do have points that run all the way through the grid. Like, you can find, you know, I think one of them we do has got points down to 45th place or something like that. And I think if you are in a position where you're chasing points, it kind of brings 2 things. One, it brings your mentality that, oh my God, I've got to get there and go and try and get points on the board. But also, to a degree, it brings a little bit of, like, anxiousness and anxiety, because you don't want to get involved in incidents, because you know you're in that final points paying position, which is only 8th. So I like it. I think this is really good here as well. Nashir's in YouTube chat. Hi. Welcome in. So yeah, I think overall it's a great system, and I think many more leagues should adopt that, to be fair.
It depends what kind of league it is in terms of what cars and circuits being used. Because I actually quite while I say that on the one hand, on the other hand, I quite like the NASCAR system in oval racing, where everybody does get a point. Good idea of where everybody's been all season, because in effect, if you finish 9th or 20th in this series, for example, it's no different. And so it wouldn't work for that kind of racing when you've got 36 starters or 43 starters or however many you're going to have on an oval race. It doesn't quite make sense. But I think for this kind of series, it's absolutely perfect to have just the top 8 scoring points. It's not quite the same as the Formula 1 point system back in the day, although when we had the top 8, we get 15 for a win, 12 for second and 10 for third, before going all the way down to 1 in the 8th position. Or you get outside at that, and then it's no points at all. 18 of them on the grid for this one, but as I mentioned, lots more Class 2 drivers than Class 1. So let's go through those now with the starting grid for round number 2. Tommy Patero is the pole sitter alongside Matt Warner, with Ben Mitchell the final of the top 3 Class 1 drivers. George Metakos is on the pole for Class 2 ahead of Stephen Lade, with Andrew Pratt alongside. It is Eric Orchin who's next. Pratt, of course, a Class 1 driver in amongst all these Class 2s. Hayden Britton alongside. Jerry Verner and Luke Edwards round out the top 10. Alistair Clark and Parker Enquist are on row 6 together. Then it is Nick Green, followed by Tim Wybrow. Steve Whitman and Reece Bartlett are on row 8 ahead of Ian Knox and Jan Janczyk in the last of the 18 places. So for some reason, Knox and Janczyk weren't able to get a lap in during qualifying. It's not the most difficult circuit in the world to pick up an off-track, so maybe that's what it was down to. After all, they only had a few minutes in qualifying and only a very, limited amount of time to get that lap in. So maybe that's what the problem was for those two, but starting a long way back, 17th and 18th, and that's a long way back from their rivals in this class.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. They've just got to try and make sure they can get their way forward, of course. They haven't got long, but they have got a full reverse grid for race number 2. So it does give them a little bit of freedom to all of a sudden jump to the front if they want to. I'm not saying that anybody's going to hang around at the back for that full reverse grid pole, right? Let's be real about it. I'd be very surprised if anybody would do that, but you do never know, to be blatantly honest. Drivers are finicky objects.
We'll see if they do decide to hang around at the back. I'd be surprised though as well. As we make our way now in towards the Ascari chicane. A great mix of manufacturers up towards the front once again here. Mercedes, Mustang, McLaren, Acura. What's that? I can't quite see. Porsche's up there as well. In there, what else have we got? I think that's it for the top 5, isn't it?
Audis.
5 different in the top 5. We've got Ferrari a bit further down, Audis, as you say, at the back as well. Yeah, plenty of variety. But up the front, it's top 5, all with different manufacturers on the run down in towards the Parabolica corner. And Tommy Patero on the front row, looking to take that championship lead in Group 1, and he will be able to here if he's able to continue on with a race win here in race number 1. In the second round of 7 in the Novice Racer GT3 Championship here this season. Out of the final corner, the sun is beating down on Monza. Conditions pretty warm for this time of year as we begin to get towards summer. It's Tommy Patero who's going to be in control of the field here as they work their way now over the line and begin this race all over again. Tommy Patero gets this race underway pretty early on, really. Wasn't waiting around for that green flag and instead goes in towards turn number 1 with a bit of an advantage over the rest of the field. Side by side in the background, although that's Mitchell just tucking into line here. Oh, he's got it wrong. He brakes far too late and thankfully misses everybody. He got that way wrong there on the brakes as he went in towards turn number 1. And now we've got trouble. We've got a spinner in front of the pack. And Pratt was involved in instigating all of that. That's Parker Enquist, who was not involved in any of it, although he did drive on the grass himself. That was a mess in towards the first chicane, and Tommy Patero's lost the lead in this race. Ben Mitchell gets it by 2 seconds already here, coming out the first chicane for the first time.
I'm not quite sure how he's hanging on to that lead, to be honest with you. That was a massive, I'm going to go and drive through everything and overtake the lead, right? I'm surprised he's not been hit with a big Garrett slowdown, and I'm surprised he's not relinquished that lead, because that is a pretty shoddy way of taking the lead there, literally just driving straight through the chicane in turn number 1. Yeah, I'm not overly keen on that. I think that is somewhat of a bit of an issue here. You can see Mitchell here, he just goes onto the brakes, he gets it wrong. I don't even know if he's trying to slow it down or if he's just all of a sudden decided, right, that's it, I'm going through. And then Hayden Britton had another bit of drama further back as well. So I'm a little bit confused how he's still managing to hold on to that lead. I would have thought a slowdown would have been a bit of a plenty of mix there, but I think this is just where everybody's checking up here. Parker Enquist ended up going off the side of the circuit as well. But yeah, for me, not a good way of taking the lead. I wouldn't be surprised if he should relinquish it back.
There was contact in a spinner, by the way, in the mid pack as well at the first chicane that we didn't see. Trying to figure out who instigated it and who was involved in it. I think Pratt has got front right damage as a result of it. I think Parker Enquist is just going to pull off the road and
no.
so he was hit.
Oh, twice. Oh.
He got hit twice, but that's not the one I saw live. I think it was Pratt involved in it further up the field here. We'll try and see if we can see anything through the first chicane here. There we go. That's the one. Yes, I thought so. So Pratt was hit up the rear, but who's that in the Ferrari there? That's Hayden Britton in that Ferrari. He was the only one, I should have known that. He's in 6th place, but he hit Pratt effectively into the side of, I think it was Stephen Lade maybe in the McLaren. And well, that could have been worse, actually. If the McLaren was spun round right in front of the whole field, then it could have been a real smash-up. But thankfully, he got pointed back the right way again, and we get away with it through the first chicane.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. Ben Mitchell's still out in front. Pit Out Racing, I'm excited to see how this race goes. So are we, to be blatantly honest. I mean, we're going to be finding out whether or not Tommy Patero is going to hang on to this. I'm interested to, if we do get a chance to talk to Ben Mitchell, I'm interested to see how he managed to get that slowdown off, because man, that would have been a whacking slowdown that he would have had there, unless he just went very slowly into the second chicane. But Tommy Patero now coming through the last corner here. He's got one more to go. Up through Ascari, coming into the curve of Parabolica. Knox and Urchin. Knox did manage to get into the session, which was always good. He was having a little bit of problems, but then again, I can't complain. So did I have issues as well. So, but at the moment, oh, Knox is blinking around like a trooper. That is not going to help.
It's not going to help Eric Caution here, who's just watching on behind. Change for the lead in the meantime as Warner gets past Mitchell, and Patero's going to do the same as well over the start-finish line. So Mitchell's going to be shuffled back to 3rd place here in the next few moments by the looks of things on the tower. Patero is closing in on Warner as well for the race lead as they go in towards the first chicane again, but he's not close enough this time around to go for it. This is the battle for 9th place. It further down the field, long way further down the field. Knox on the outside of Verda, and he is going to get that place in the accurate as long as he gives space, and he does, so he gets through. And Orchin will follow through as well on Verna, so that's two guys getting up into the top 10, and Verna losing 2 places in that first chicane.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Watch this overtake. Kind of gives him a little bump out the way there, but then again, it did look like Werner was trying to close the door on him, which probably isn't the most accessible thing to be doing. But unfortunately for him, he has lost that place. He's going to have to start coming back. Peter Enquist, oh my God.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
That's, Steve Whitman with no front bumper at all here. You can see the inside of the McLaren quite well there. This early on lap 1. Oh dear, one of the Audis goes over the... Oh my goodness, what a mess this is. Oh no. Dear, oh dear. What a mess. Well, I was wondering... Oh dear, it's still going. I was wondering a little bit why there were so many drivers down pit lane after the first lap, because, you know, first chicane was quite clean, but it was out of Ascari where it all went wrong there.
Yeah, Whitman, Wybrow, Bartlett, Clark, Janchik, all involved in that little drama. Oh, he's going to spin him. Oh. He's going to spin him, bro.
Oh, Mitchell's into the pit lane in the meantime. He's probably got a penalty. So he will drop to the back end of the field. Joey Patero is now in the lead, by the way. So Warner got past Mitchell to lead earlier. Now Patero's got past Warner. And now he leads, but it's still side by side in towards the first chicane, and Patero gets through, or stays through rather, on the inside line. It's going to be a perhaps race-long battle between these two. We're only a third of the way through the first race of the day, but they might well be battling the whole way through this race. We'll see, of course.
Yeah, I think for Matt Warner there, he's going to have to try and use some of that pace of that Mustang. I think that's the thing. He's got to be looking at trying to get that gruff underway. And obviously there's a couple of runs coming out of Lesmo 1 or 2 that he's able to maybe get that run up into Ascari if he can. And then, of course, from Ascari, he can try and carry the speed around the Parabolica all the way down to the Prima Variante. This Mustang is very, very quick. So he should be able to use the pace to clear the Merc. I'm not saying the Merc is a slouch, by the way. I'm just saying generally the Mustang has been quicker. Eric Orchard, Jerry Werner running side by side through Lesmo 1. Are they going to make it through Lesmo 2?
No. Orchard goes off the road side, slightly off the side, and brings a load of gravel onto the circuit as well, as he just loses the car on the way back onto the circuit again. Nicholas Green will catch up as a result in 11th place there in the bottom of your screen. That's Knox going through on Edwards in towards the Ascari chicane, and that's to be expected because Knox is a bit quicker than Edwards, although he's still blinking quite severely, isn't he, here? Now it's stabled a little bit, but every time we've been looking at him, he's been blinking. There he is. There he goes again.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried that that's an Australian internet problem. I've got to be honest, every Australian I've been speaking to tells me that they're on pigeon internet, so I'm guessing that could be the same scenario was going on with Ian Knox there, unfortunately for him. But hey, you know, you do the best you can there as well. Class 2 championship is even at the top, should hopefully make for some good racing. It is, and at the moment, George Medicost is leading the way in the Class 2s.
Yeah, third overall in this race at the moment. Pratt just in behind him in that fourth position in that slightly damaged Porsche, although it shouldn't be too bad after we saw that contact through the first chicane. So Matakos might well just let him go in the next few moments. We'll wait and see for now, but overall podium it is for George Matakos as things stand. Coming into today, of course, he's tied third place in the championship after scoring 16 points from the first round of the championship. The first two races, obviously, which is why we've got a three-way tie after one round of the championship. But Matakos is going to really jump through the field here if he can hold on to this lead. Andrew Pratt puts the pressure on him now as he tries to come through in the Porsche, which I'd imagine he's going to struggle a bit here today at Monza with its slightly reduced straight line
speed. And spit it out, son. It's slow. We know it is. It's one of the slowest ones. It doesn't quite have the top speed to cope with some of the other cars in and around it. So I'm going to be interested to see at the moment. But for Matakos, a nice little jump at the moment. He's going to bang in 15 points here. So I'm going to be interested to see how it turns out where he is going into next week. Of course, Ben Mitchell is in pit lane.
Again. So the first one I thought was a penalty. Maybe I wasn't correct in that assessment. Yeah, now that's a drive-through this time. He's setting off again in fourth gear. That's going to take it. There we go. Back to first. That's better. One drive-through and one penalty for I imagine not serving a slowdown properly, because he was still leading despite steaming through the first chicane a few minutes ago. Look at the gravel there on the outside of turn number one. We saw one of those McLarens, I think it was Lade, who just went off there after that contact we saw on the replay of in turn one. There you can see he's actually avoiding his own gravel there as he comes out the first chicane. It's been done very well, I think, now, the model of bringing dirt and gravel back onto the circuit. Initially I was complaining about it because it was very excessive on iRacing, but nowadays it's very realistic, and it only matters when somebody brings it onto the circuit themselves as well. It doesn't just appear randomly. But it certainly does affect the cars. It's not just there for show. You can absolutely feel it as you go over. And there, second chicane, another problem. It's a problem all the way around Monza, to be honest, because there's gravel everywhere, which I'm a fan of, by the way. But it does mean there's gravel on the tarmac as well as in the outsides of the circuit. Yes,
that's the thing as well. And as you say, when it first come in, mate, there was a couple of times me and you were doing broadcasting before engines were blowing up. There was so much smoke and stuff coming all over the place. This is a little bit more subtle, but you are right. When you see cars going too wide and you know the outside's covered in gravel or rubber or whatever, you know full well the overtake's not going to get done because they are slipping and sliding like an absolute trooper. I'd like to shout out Hayden Britton, sitting in a Barbie car of all things here as well, looking very bright and beautiful on this sunny day.
Well, yeah, normally I'd be complimenting the livery, but since he's the only Ferrari anyway, it doesn't need to be pink for us to see him. But anyway, that helps as well. We'll be able to spot him from a mile away. We like that as slightly dim commentators.
Oi!
So
the brighter the livery,
no,
the
there
better.
You go.
If you ever want to know the trick, don't you, when you go into league racing, the brightest livery always gets the most attention. Just letting you know that. If you want to get the most discreet time, pick the brightest livery.
It is true. In towards the first chicane, three drivers, not all battling for the same class position, but it is all an overall position here. And Hayden Britton at the moment still sitting in second place. He's held on through that first chicane. Now at the exit of the corner, Stephen Lade, after not getting the position on the way in, has decided to let Knox through here and let him go at this moment. Probably the best idea. Ian Knox has done a fantastic drive. He started on the back row of the grid, don't forget, and he's up more than 10 places so far.
Yeah, he's done an absolute stunning run, but then again, Lade went then as well. Knox is, both of these are Australian, so you know, there's a
Are they
thing.
definitely Australian or just Oz NZ?
Well,
Do we know?
See, sometimes, Mr. O'Leary, you ask me questions and I normally
Yeah,
just
no,
get
yeah.
through them,
Well,
but
neither do I.
this time I have not got a Scooby-Doo. I'm going to presume they're from the Australian New Zealand area, and as far as I'm aware, they don't have very good internet. All right, as far as I'm on the understanding that the internet isn't necessarily great, so I'm going to take it in that thing.
Isn't it, again, I might be asking questions, but, you know, this is just a rhetorical question. Isn't it probably because they're on the other side of the world that they're connecting to European service, which is a bit of a difficulty? That I think geography might be at play there more than internet, but maybe or both, I suppose. As Hayden Britton just goes on the defensive into the final corner, and Ian Knox will just run around the outside instead. Kind of surprised Britain's actually defending this place, since they're not in the same class, but anyway, he is staying on the inside, and they're giving each other quite a wide berth, probably sensible as well. Glad Ian Knox's internet has just decided to stay with us just for this moment while they run side by side. And in towards the first chicane. Knox is going to go through here, you would have thought. Oh no, now Britton doesn't see who he's racing in towards the first chicane. And Knox has got it done around the outside, so there he goes, up another position, and that's a top 5 now for Ian Knox.
Yeah, he's making his way forward there. He's sitting 4th in class at the moment. This is one of the closest battles on screen here. If anybody does know about the internet in Australia, let us know, because, you know, we would be interested. You know what I mean? We might as well get our facts right, mister.
So, yeah, it's my best guess, really, the fact that they're so far away is why. But, you know, surely their internet can't be bad with each other, you know what I mean? It feels impossible. Maybe it's not. But it feels like that's not possible. Pratt, meanwhile, is catching and still in behind George Metcalfe, actually, in another one of their close battles up inside the top 10. He's running out of time for this, though, really. Just over 5 minutes to go, and again, that Porsche is struggling in a straight line to actually make the difference here, even on the Acura, which has not got amazing speed itself. It's got enough speed to keep Porsche behind for the moment.
Yeah, it has for a minute, but then again, we knew that the Porsche hasn't quite got the to get up to the back here. You can hear it once it goes into 6th. That annoying whistle drives me absolutely bonkers. It's like having tinnitus.
Like it?
No, it's like having tinnitus constantly in my ear. When I go to sleep, I just hear this. It's just like, no, I can't handle this whistle from this Porsche. That's probably why I don't drive it.
I don't own it either, to be fair, but I don't mind the sound of it. You know, it's the way it behaves that I don't like.
It will just kill you.
It's just too much oversteer for me, unfortunately. So that's why I don't drive. Actually, I think through the corners around here, it quite suits low-speed corners, in my opinion, in my experience, the Porsche. But it's more high-speed corners where things do start to go a little bit wrong. But you know, first chicane, second chicane should be all right, especially with its rear-leaning engine as well. You've got good traction off of these corners, so. There's the upsides. You know, sometimes we talk about the Porsche's bad straight line speed as if there are no upsides to driving it at all, but there are certainly some upsides. And Pratt, is trying to use some of those. Doesn't need to here. Michael's going to go off by himself. Very nearly went over the chicane. Does go over the chicane. He'll now have a slowdown, but he'll serve that. And Pratt goes wide through the second part of the second chicane, and so he still won't get the place.
Yeah, a little bit trippy over each other there. Oh, no. Metcalfe's getting that all a little bit wrong now. Unfortunately for him, he did get that a little bit wrong. Now is he going to cop a slowdown on the outside line. He's waiting for the Porsche to see if the Porsche is going to go up the inside here. So we'll keep an eye out and see what he does coming into Ascari. Is the Porsche going to go through? Oh, Pratt, he is. Metcalfe leaves him a bunch of room there.
Pretty wide berth, and Pratt goes through on the inside line there as George Metcalfe drops to 4th. Expectedly, I think, because Metcalfe would rather win the race in Class 2, I feel. Monsoon Webber, which I'm presuming is not a real name, but a YouTube name. Internet is fine, but the ping is bad. What the hell is the difference in that? What?
If the internet's good, the ping will be short, right? If the internet's bad, the ping will be bad. So, I'm not quite sure. Is it the fact it's travelling miles from underground cables? I don't really know.
Yeah, that's my only theory, to be honest. Battle for third place in Class 2 is a 3-car battle now, actually, between Edwards, Werner and Orchin. That's fourth place, of course, forgetting about Metakos. Edwards has been going backwards, unfortunately, in this race, but he's driven consistently and stayed out of trouble, which has given him a good result so far. Let's hope that continues. Oh, he's broke too late. And so is Werner as he was trying to go through. Eric Cauchy might well make 2 overtakes here.
Yeah, he might do. I do wonder whether or not Edwards and Werner running wide had something to do with Werner trying to stick his nose up the inside there. And I do wonder whether or not that could have had something to do with it, because you can see the amount of room that's given to him here from Edwards, but it's a lot of apprehension. He's like, I'm not really sure, and then unfortunately neither of them made it. So yeah, I think that was a mixture of a little bit of a communication. Ping is bad due to distance.
There we go. That makes sense. Thanks for clearing that up, because that also means my theory's right as well. So there we go. Danger. Werner now has got through actually on Edwards, who's now dropped to. Oh, he's off! That'll be white. He's off into the barriers at Lesmo 2. Now he's already slow. He might have got the second chicane as well, because he's slow again out of Lesmo 1, and then he was hit by Orchin. Wow. So Orchin was completely an innocent one in towards turn 1. He was just watching it all unfold in front of him, but then he hits Edwards out of Lesmo 2.
He's trying to get a slowdown off here. For me, if you're going to try and do it, get it off the racing line. And I've got a funny feeling that was the case there. I think he was trying to get that slowdown off, and then unfortunately was still on the racing line. And the problem is obviously he come and give him a bump up the bum. So I've got a funny feeling for Edwards. He might want to next time learn from that and get the car off the racing line if you're trying to take a slowdown off.
I think on the way into the corner he probably was. So as Metakos gets it wrong. Oh wow, good avoidance, good avoiding driving there as he just avoided hitting Ian Knox towards turn number 1 quite viciously, but he'll lose a bit of time. He should hold on to the lead though in class 2 as Werner and Orchin run through the first chicane as well. Werner will stay in front in that 4th position, and you'd imagine he'll now drive away a little bit as Eric Orchin follows him. 30 seconds to go. Tommy Patera is making his way down towards the sky. I think we're on the last lap now of this first race.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very close indeed. I think we should, what we're doing, 150. Yeah, it should be the final lap of the race here.
Just crept up on us very quickly. So he's just put a lap on one of the Audis a bit further down the field. See either Clark or Janczyk, I'm not sure, but that will be a reverse grid race for them to aim for. Mitchell will be on pole 4 if he wants to join us for it, as the final seconds now tick away, and the checker flag will indeed be waving for Tommy Patero. Got into the lead after Mitchell's run through the first chicane fairly early, and had Matt Warner putting pressure on him early on, but he's been able to pull a 6-second margin now and win this race pretty comfortably in the end. Tommy Patero takes the Group 1 Championship lead with a victory here in race 1 at Monza, even lapping some of the field as well. 6 seconds ahead of Warner in the end as George Metakos continues to trail Ian Knox, who puts on the drive of the race, I would say, coming through the field. George Metakos, though, wins in Group 2 fairly comfortably in the end by just over 4 seconds.
Yeah, he did. He didn't really have much trouble there, did Metakos at all. Urchin and Warner, Werner, sorry, running around the final corner, neck and neck. He's not going to be able to get there. Werner's going to get that. The line is literally there. So he will be able to get that. Peter Enquist and Luke Edwards. Are they going to stay as they are, or is Edwards going to Enquist? Oh, yeah, he's not going to get there either. He needed to be alongside at that moment in time. So it's going to be Edwards in front of Enquist there as well. So, yeah. Great run from all of these guys. I quite enjoyed that. It wasn't quite as frantic as we said about. So, you know, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, you're quite well behaved in towards the first chicane. I always feel like the reverse grid race, though, is always different. And that is going to be what's coming up next in the second 20-minute race of the day. As Steve Whitman over the line in 9th. Surprisingly, he didn't need to come in, despite the fact he's got no front end there. And then it will be Clark over the line in 5th place in the first class. And then back to the second class. Tim Wybrow will round out the field in 10th position. Is that any old cat, or is that his cat he's got on his...
There's a lot of cats, bro. They are a lot of multicoloured cats.
I think it's the same one, just pictured multiple times.
No, because we've got a tabby in there as well. No, that is definitely not the same cat, bro. Look.
I don't really like cats, so I don't really pay attention.
No, there's 3 different cats. Look on the bonnet. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go.
And they all look the same to me, but what do I know? So let's have a look at the race results at the end of race number 1. And we won't do the grid because effectively just this put on its head. It's Tommy Patero who wins race 1 by 6 seconds in the end, ahead of Matt Warner, with Andrew Pratt just holding off Ian Knox and George Metakos in the last of the podium places there. Metakos, of course, second-class winner here in the first race, ahead of Hayden Britton, who also held off Stephen Lade. Then it was Jerry Verner, Eric Orchin and Nick Green rounding out the top 10. Luke Edwards fell to 11th in the end, only just ahead of Parker Enquist as we saw them come over the line. Just over a minute back for Steve Whitman. In 13th place, Alistair Clark and Tim Wybrow rounded out those on the lead lap. Jan Janchik and Reece Bartlett were 1 lap down. Ben Mitchell gave up 4 laps from the finish. Hopefully he will get onto the grid for the last one. He does indeed. He'll get onto the grid from pole.
Yeah, he will. That was a little bit tactical, wasn't it? Let's be real.
I don't know, really.
Oh, come on. Yeah, tactics aplenty there. Tactics aplenty.
I mean, there's no...
He's going to score points. Hold on, my philosophy. He's going to score points in race 1 regardless, because it's only top 8 and there's only 7 class 1s, right? So he was going to score points regardless. He knew this. So where is he at the moment? Say, for instance, he even got 2 points. He knew this. But pole in race number 2 is more important for him because he's going to score 15. Where the likes of people at the back, like Patero, like Warner, like Pratt, they've got to come through traffic. They may not. I'm calling Mitchell knew what he was doing there.
Yeah, but if he'd have carried on, even after his second penalty, he could have finished at least in 5th place in that race and still got a decent starting position for this next race and scored even more points by still winning Class 1. So I don't know. Well, maybe you're right that that is what he did, but I don't think it's the right thing that to do anyway. But anyway, we'll maybe try and find out later as to whether he decided to do that or whether he just gave up in race 1 because he was fed up of getting penalties, because he was getting quite a lot of them. Let's hope that they can stop in time for turn 1 this time round and all 18 of them can get through cleanly. It's going to be a big ask of all of these drivers, but let's hope they can do it here in the reverse grid race. Oh, and Nick Mitchell's not waiting around at all. The Novice Racer GT3 Championship from Monza underway in the reverse grid race, and already Ben Mitchell is trying to break the slipstream by driving sort of off the circuit, but you're allowed to go there as he moves now back to the racing line again. He'll have ages in towards turn number 1 here, but watch out for the rest of them in towards the first chicane. Where is the action going to come from? Here they are on the brakes in towards turn number 1. Oh, stack up in the background. Concertina effect. Knox hits the back of one of the Ferraris and off. There is a bit of a spin, a half spin there for one of the McLarens, it looked like to me. Was it Jerry Verner? Possibly. He drops to the back end, but mostly clean through the first chicane.
Yeah, Jerry Verner that was as well. Somebody lost their nose here as well. There's a piece of nose that went flying. They all check up. There's a little bit of a bump and a grind. And then all of a sudden, there it is. There's the white nose that's gone flying up as well.
Still late, isn't it?
Oh, there has been some. Oh my God. What has gone on here?
There's been something into the second chicane instead of into the first. Oh, and off in the background there. You can see Whitman off the road, is it? In the background.
Yeah.
You can see it here. It's all happening. Janchik is up to second place now, ahead of behind Mitchell, who's leading by a long way. Wybrow's now up to 3rd, ahead of Clark, and then Edwards rounding out the top 5. Well, we'll get some replays of what happened into the second chicane in a moment, because it looked like that's where the action was.
Yeah, I'm trying to track what happened. Lade went off, Pratt went off, and Enquist. Oh, there it is.
Oh, no.
Was that Metacross involved with that originally?
It was a blue... that blue McLaren got hit by a Mustang into the second chicane, and Metcos does get involved afterwards. Oh, there you go.
So who is the blue McLaren?
The one in front, that light bluish one, I think it was. Not Jerry Verner.
What is that?
Off the road there. Is it Whitman? Was it who went off? Maybe.
Yes.
Anyway, he was hit by a Mustang. Yeah, there you go. It's a Mustang that comes steaming down the inside and causes this whole mess. Spins the McLaren around. Enquist tried to slow down and he got hit in the rear. Whitman actually gets pushed the right way again, but his car's too damaged to continue.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's just put everybody somewhere on the racetrack. Patero is sitting 10th overall here. At the same time, Jerry Verner's in there with Hayden Britton in behind him. Reece Bartlett is battling away with Orchin tucked in behind him as well. So there's a lot going on at the moment.
Oh, there's a move down the inside. Very tight angle there for Britain, but he's going to get that. Look at the gravel here. Oh my goodness me. That's what happens when you have incidents through the second chicane. Gravel gets brought onto the circuit all over the place, and it's all the way down to Lesmo 1, where it's still going on here. Ian Knox, meanwhile, in ahead of Bartlett, and Patero will go through as well. That was a fairly easy pass through the middle sector. So Patero now up to 9th place as he tries to, overall of course, as he tries to come from the very back to the very front in race 2.
And look at the gap between Mitchell and Patero. 12.9 seconds. There's 4 cars in the middle of them at the same time, and Patero's got to try and get through Knox, Clark and Jan Jančić all at the same time. Going to be difficult. Here though, however, in the Class 2s, it is Edwards and Nick Green. And Edwards just gives him that. Dude.
Well, not intentionally, but he did go wide and give him it through Parabarker. That's the second time in the last few minutes, actually, we've seen Edwards, I think, looking in the mirrors a little bit too much before these braking zones and out braking himself. We saw it at the back end of race 1 into turn 1.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with you. I think he's mirror driving when he should just be concentrating on what's in front of him, really. Tommy Patero trying to look out on Knox. Knox looking to pull out on Orchin.
That was quite a long way back. Knox got it stopped somehow, and he got 7th place as well. So Patero will surely follow through as well soon as Eric Orchin loses positions in that Acura. Patero will come through on the outside line, surely giving him the inside for the second parts into the chicane. Here he comes, inside line. Well, bit of a struggle, and oh no! Patero alongside Orchin will decide in a moment with a replay as to whether Orchin came across on him or whether Patero came across into the chicane himself. Let's see. Ooh. I might be willing to put that one on Orchin, actually.
Yeah, like he did try and shut the door and take the racing line away, but then again, I suppose the question will be whether or not on his screen was Patero alongside. If he on his screen, he might be on a single, he might be on 3, I don't really know. If the spotter hasn't called out that he's even got Patero alongside him, he ain't gonna know he's there, bro. That's the thing.
Well, that is true, and if that is, or if that is what happened there, then he's got an excuse, I suppose. But if not, then and he just thought Patero was going to back out, then I think that was a little bit silly to think that he would, especially the previous race winner coming through. Don't think turning it like that would have been the best thing. Oh dear, what's going on there? That's Metakos hitting the back of Bartlett in towards the final corner. I'm surprised. Has Metakos been into pit lane, by the way? I'm surprised he got away with that big damage he got through the second chicane on lap 1.
Right, I can tell you now he hasn't been in pit lane, but Bartlett there, wow, dude, that was meteorically slow, and unfortunately you got a good old kiss on the bum there from Metakos, who's running down now. We've got Alistair Clark, Luke Edwards in behind, and Ian Knox, so this should be a fun one.
Yep, it will be. It should be Ian Knox making the passes, but you never know at this stage now when they're getting further towards the front. It does get a lot more difficult. Here comes Edwards down the inside, a little look on Clark, but no move this time. Knox will close right in. Patero's lost a bit of time in the last few moments after that contact with Orchin, so he'll be here soon as well. But this is what we're going to see now for the last 2/3 of this race, really. Some battles that we were expecting to see, really. Further towards the front, more evenly distributed, if you like. The drivers themselves more evenly matched, I should say. And that should give us longer battles, better battles as well inside the top 5. The top 2 are gone, but outside of that, the battle for the last podium place should be pretty close. And here comes Edwards looking to start that off, not quite into Ascari.
See, I think for me, I wouldn't be making them moves. The reason I wouldn't be making the moves is you're very tight on the entrance. If you're not going to go and make it, go and have a go, don't do it. because now he's just going to put himself under pressure. Yes, Knox is not in his class. I understand that. Oh, man.
Edwards hits Clark. And that was a Class 2 on a Class 1, by the way. Clark's in the fence down there at the Parabolica. And that is a real shame for Alistair Clark. And that's on Edwards, unfortunately. He, again, looking in his mirrors, trying to defend from Knox, breaks a little bit too late and hits Clark.
Yeah, and he had loads of room to the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Loads of room to the right-hand side there as well. But Clark's now back down, fighting away with Pratt. They're a little bit further now. You can see they're down in 11th and 12th at the moment in time. But yeah, they've got a... Edwards has done that a lot. He's missed braking points. He's mirror drove. He needs to get out of that habit. Otherwise, them sort of things are going to continue to keep happening. I'm going to change that word because I couldn't get the L's out. It's going to keep happening to him. So he needs to get out of that format of driving in the mirrors.
Oh dear. Very nearly spun through the second chicane as well. Right in front is Tommy Patero, the race 1 winner, but he keeps it on the road. And he will keep it in 6th position for now. Still 3rd in Class 2, so still a good drive for him so far. And it will be a good finish for him as well to stay here. But Taro now will go through on him on the way down towards Ascari. Green and Wybrow, meanwhile, for 3rd place, nearly side by side, up in front as well. Patero on the outside. He has got it done, yes.
Yeah,
towards
got it done.
the Ascari chicane.
Up to Wybrow, Knox and Green. Green's there in, well, that brightly coloured car, which looks awesome. I've got to be blatantly honest with you. As they're going down now, Knox does go through on Green. This isn't a battle for class, so we'll see how Green now handles it. Is he going to rely on Knox to try and take him past Wybrow? Well, we're going to find out very, very shortly here.
You'd imagine it's going to be going Knox' way, this one. He's had a fantastic race so far, Ian Knox. Lots of overtakes in race 1 after not getting a lap in during qualifying. Lots of overtakes again in race 2 after the reversed grid as he comes down in towards the first chicane now. He should be ahead of the Class 2 leader, Wybrow. He's already ahead of Class 2 second place Green, and now he is ahead of Wybrow as well. So the battle for Class 2 victory will continue just in the background, but it will continue behind Ian Knox, who's now on the podium overall.
Yeah, great drive from Knox there. Moved his way forward, up 12 places. Stellar run from him. As now we've got the Wybrow Green battle that's going to develop here. And I think this could be very, very interesting indeed. Whether or not Green's going to be able to clear Wybrow. Oh, or is Wybrow going to make it easy for him like that?
It's very near to disaster. Out of the second chicane. It was all going on there. And he's under a lot of pressure here from Nick Green. Green will probably be a little bit scarred from the incident into the second chicane on lap 1. He won't want to make that contact again, but he's going to almost go through here by default in the moment. Patero's on the grass, meanwhile, trying to come from both. They both slowed out of Lesmo 2 after a big slide for Wybrow. And here comes Patero on the inside line. 2 places in 1, up to 4th overall.
Yeah, he took an opportune moment there, didn't he, Patero? He made sure that he was going to follow him. Oh, he's just literally Wybrow. Mistakes on this lap alone has just cost him the lead of that class because he's just made far too many being put under pressure here. He didn't enjoy being put under pressure, and unfortunately for Wybrow, he's going to... Oh.
It's close. Close in towards turn, the final turn, I should say. Wybrow just making that mistake there through Ascari. It almost looked like he was so close to Patero through that last part of Ascari that he almost didn't see where that last sausage curve was, and he absolutely smacked it coming out of the Ascari chicane. And that's lost him the lead here. Here comes Nick Green, meanwhile. I'm not sure why he's challenging the race 1 winner overall, Tommy Patero, because it'd be difficult for him to get past, and either way, it's not any points worth it, and indeed, it's only going to lose time making the pass as well, but he even gave him a bit of a go in towards the first chicane. Now that Patero is going to focus forward on trying to catch Ian Knox before the finish and getting a second podium of the day.
Absolutely. It's going to be, I wouldn't put Green, I'd worry about Wybrow. I wouldn't worry about people in front. For Edwards, he's just got to worry about not trying to drive in his mirrors and try and go forward here. We've got Pratt still fighting out here. He's trying to get onto the back of Werner. to clear Werner. But at the moment, the likes of Eric Orchin is not going to score points. Stephen Lade is not going to score points. And Whitman's not going to score points at the moment here in the Class 2s.
No, the bottom 3 in each race for the Class 2s don't score any points because it's only top 8. There are only 7 Class 1s though, so that's why we have got everybody scoring points for those. Side by side in the meantime, as Werner defends from Pratt, I think this is, in towards Ascari. This is Class 2 versus Class 1. Pratt trying to make these overtakes and trying to catch Patero, but that's going to be very difficult. Look at the amount of cars between himself and Patero. He's just gone through the bottom of your shot in the Mercedes there. And in the real background, in the Porsche, Pratt trying to get past Werner to make up some more places. Just under 7 minutes to go. Looks around the outside of Parabolica. It's a very long way around there.
I'm not quite sure why Werner's scrapping this out. I've got to be honest. I think for me, Pratt does look a little bit quicker. I would probably have used Pratt to try and move myself closer to Britton, but you know, that's just me. This battle up in front has just got very, very close, but that is on the run down. Yeah. Mick Green nearly got that all wrong.
So Mick Green is starting to come under a bit of pressure now. You can see the guys queuing up behind him. Wybrow is absolutely in there for now and looking for a way past in towards the chicane. Mick Green and Wybrow and Edwards 1, 2 and 3, and in the background Metakos versus Britain as well. So I thought Green, after getting through, actually would start to pull away, but that's not been happening at the moment. He's under a lot of pressure from his fellow Mustang here.
Yeah, it does seem like he's basically within that same sort of speed range, that same lap time range. Green last time out 52.3, Wybrow did a 52.7. In fact, Wybrow did his fastest lap of the race. Edwards did a 52.18, also his fastest lap of the race as well, with barely 5 minutes to go. So they're all in and around that same kind of area. So although we think Green would have done a bunk and gone up the road, he just hasn't made it that escape at this moment in time.
No, not for the moment. But he's still got 5 minutes to hold on. Here's Edwards down the inside of Wybrow. And this time he's got it done. We've seen most of the problem for Luke Edwards coming when there was someone behind him putting up pressure on, but there was nobody there in that situation. And he was able to get through on the inside. So can he now chase down and pass Green in the last 5 minutes of this race? It would be fantastic drive from Luke Edwards if he was to be able to do that. As we go back here, Britain versus Werner for 5th place is still ongoing. Here comes Werner on the way towards the first chicane. Werner in towards the outside line, and he's going to get this done, is he? Not quite clear, but he is going to get through there on Britain, who almost cut the first corner there.
Yeah, I don't think Britain had a choice there, though. He was very, very squished against that inside curb. Watch how Werner just closes the door right on him, and he's just got nowhere. Look at that. Oh, yeah. He gives 0 room. And I don't think Britain had a choice there but to back out.
Might have had a slowdown as well, because he gave up the position to Pratt, but with a pretty big gap there. And Wybrow's back in front of Edwards. This is giving Green a race-winning advantage now in the Class 2 race. Down the inside for Edwards, and off for Wybrow, who's very nearly in the wall. Here comes Marcos. Oh, he was very nearly hit there. And there was the contact. There's some sort of bodywork coming off that one of those cars there. Wybrow was trying to gather it up as he had gravel over his tyres. He had all sorts going on there. And Metakos does go through, although his race was nearly over there. He was nearly crashed into.
Oh, brother, that was close. Werner, trying to come through as well on Wybrow. I don't know if Wybrow's cooked up them tyres or what the situation was, but this is mightily close from Metakos.
This would have been scary, wouldn't it?
Oh my God.
Why did the rear bumper come off the Acura though? That's really weird. There wasn't any contact.
I can't answer that question, Mr. O'Leary. I can't answer that question, but I can guarantee this view is going to give us, from Wybrow's point of view, whether or not what the situation was. Watch on the left. Oh, there was a big old
Netco contact.
Yeah, there was a big old dose of Tinternet there, wasn't there? That caused that. Well, Werner's just about to go up the inside of Wybrow. Britton's looking up the inside as well. He's got...
Oh! There we go. I knew there was going to be contact there. You could just see it happening. Britton making contact with Wybrow, who's gone from leading this race to 6th position in a matter of moments here. I think there may be netcode contact again here, but you can see it with Britton steaming in. There he goes. Oh, no netcode, just actual contact that time.
He literally just bumped him there as well. Ben Mitchell out up the road. We're going to be on the final lap this time around.
Yeah, white flag this time. That is Stephen Lade just up in front of him, by the way. He's going to put another lap on him. But this has been a good drive from Ben Mitchell. He'll be kicking himself about race 1, I feel, because it was just one mistake when you think about it. Just one mistake in towards the first chicane. He cut the first chicane. Then he had that penalty. Don't know what the second one was about, but eventually retired 4 laps from the finish. I did get that pole for a lights to flag victory here, but you get the feeling this day could have got a lot more points for him with a good race 1 result if he'd have just made that one mistake. That's all it seems to have come down to for Mitchell today. Just that one mistake into the first chicane.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. I don't know if that... It's really hard without asking him, right? Because I got a funny feeling that may have been penalty related. That's why we had to take a couple of trips down through pit lane. But, yeah, for Mitchell, took pole position and, yeah, run away with it at the beginning.
Fantastic drive from Mitchell. It's going to be Nick Green in the second class as well, by the looks of things. Battle for second in Class 2 is going to be between Edwards and Metakos, so it's going to be the biggest points haul for Metakos of the season. He scored 15 in race number 1. Looks like he's going to score at least another 10 here, maybe another 12. Here's George Metakos. That's going to move him up towards the top of the standings. Certainly going to move him ahead of Edwards and Enquiries and Werner. It's going to move him near Nicholas Green as well, although with a race win in race 2 for Nicholas Green, then it's going to be him with the championship lead. Metakos, though, looking for this position on Edwards in the final moments of this race.
Yeah, he's going to try and take this position away as Metakos. He's not going to want to hang around. Edwards now, with reliance on what Edwards has done previously, if Metakos just keeps the pressure on for the next half of the lap, it is a distinct possibility that he might be able to get through. Edwards might make the mistake that allows Metakos to go through, but yeah, I think he should get him before the end. Oh, there it is.
Hello. Big slide. And Metakos is going to have a decent chance here now on the way towards Ascari. It might be his best chance for the remainder of the race because Parabolica doesn't always throw up a decent opportunity. Here he goes into the chicane. Is he going to work his way around the outside here? No, he isn't quite. Meanwhile, at the final corner, Ben Mitchell is going to win race 2 here at Monza in the Novice Racer GT3 Championship. Round number 2. Ben Mitchell wins the reverse grid race, a lights to flag victory, and he did have to hold off Jan Jančić on the way through under fairly serious pressure from the Audi, although the gap at the line is going to be 1.6 seconds. Nick Green is going to take the win in Class 2, and it looks like Edwards is going to hold on to second place as well. Metakos gave it all he could, but the final Ascari chicane and Parabolica corners are not the best for overtaking, and so he can't get past Edwards as they all finish in behind Nicholas Green, who wins one of the races for the second week in a row.
Yeah, he does. So good job for him to come through here. He's going to keep him up on points with Jerry Werner. Obviously, Werner was dropped a little bit in race number 2, so we'll find out after how they're going to get on with points here. I think this could be very, very interesting indeed. Eric Orchin's going to come over the line, and then we're waiting for Lade and Whitman, who are a long way back at the moment, down through Lesmo 1.
And Whitman is just about to come over the line right now, but Lade only just finished in front of Ben Mitchell in the race there, so that's why he is so far back at the moment. So in the championships, Tony Patero is going to take the Group 1 championship lead now by a fairly long way. He was on the podium in both races last week and the first race this week, but for the first time this season, he's finished off the podium in this race. Matt Warner will not gain any points to him in either occasion, though he will fall further behind. Same for everybody, really. So it's going to be a big advantage for Tony Patero out of round number 2. As I said earlier, Nicholas Green is going to be championship leader, I think, in the second class. As Werner had a day finishing off the podium, I think, both occasions here. Certainly in race 2 he did, and he will fall behind Green. Metakos will get a lot closer, though, with 2 podiums for him in this Class 2 race. As I mentioned, though, still 7 rounds in this championship, 5 to go after this one, which means 10 races, and a very, very long way in this championship still remains. Let's have a look at the race result then from race number 2 here at Monza. Another clean race, especially when you look at the start here from this circuit. It's Ben Mitchell who's able to take the victory ahead of Jan Jančić. Ian Knox rounds out a podium, with Tommy Patero finishing off the podium for the first time this season. Nicholas Green winning in Class 2 from 5th place overall. Luke Edwards was stick for George Metakos, applying the pressure late on. Andrew Pratt, Jerry Werner and Hayden Britton round out the top 10. Tim Wybrow was next, just ahead of Reece Bartlett, with Alistair Clark just a further couple of seconds behind. Parker Engqvist and Eric Orchim round out the top 15. Matt Warder and Stephen Lade, the last drivers on the lead lap. Steve Whitman finished 1 lap down, but everybody gets to the finish in race number 2, and that's a fantastic thing, and a real display of how clean the driving was on lap 1, especially here at Monza. I know we had a bit of a smash up down in towards the second chicane on late race 2 especially, but all in all, it was pretty clean racing.
Yeah, it definitely was. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It could have been a lot worse. Let's face it. Between us, we've seen pile-ups aplenty down into turn number 1. So it's going to be interesting to see. Join us next time out as well, though, because we have got the funky circuit of Gilles Villeneuve at Montreal, which has been deemed a wet circuit. So it will be wet at Montreal, then off to Okayama, Road Atlanta, Hockenheim Ring, and then Autodrome de Jose Carlos Pache, or our favourite, well, my favourite circuit, Interlagos.
Yeah, it's a much twistier calendar from here to the finish. After 2 straight line speed heavy circuits, we have got a few more corners to look forward to in the next rounds. Maybe less so at Montreal next week, but certainly after that, it is going to be a lot more difficult. But as you say, we do have the rain at Montreal in 7 days' time, so we look forward to that. Make sure you join us same time, same place here on the JP YouTube channel for the next round of the Novice Racer GT3 Championship from Montreal. I've been Jon O'Leary alongside James Parfitt. Until we see you for that 3rd round of the championship next week, it's goodbye for now.